Good evening, this is the Walpole Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is Wednesday, April 20th. It is 7 p.m. The first two cases we have are going to be continued at the request of the applicant. The first one is for 22-1 High Plain Holdings for 173 High Plain Street. The applicant has requested a continuance and extension of time until the meeting on May 4th, and then a continuation of time until June 1st. So the next meeting would be at May 4th, 7 o'clock here at Town Hall. Could I have a motion to accept the continuance?
So moved.
Moved by Drew,
Second.
second by Bob. Any discussion? So, people in the audience, please understand that the applicant has requested to continue this, and the High Plains Street project will be continued until May 4th at 7. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. And voting on this will be the 5 regular members. We're not taking any testimonies, so it doesn't matter for the Mullen Rule or anything like that. Okay, next one is for case number 22-4.
John,
Yeah.
I believe you took the motion for the continuance, but we didn't reference the extension to June 1st as well.
Yeah, I thought I put that, so continued until May 4th and extended until June 1st.
All right.
Yep.
Did that all in one. And for members of the public that were here for that case, I'm sorry, we just found out today that the applicant was requesting a continuance. So we value your comments and input, so please be at the next meeting. I know it's a hardship, and we don't like it when people just continue at the last minute without giving people notice.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Next case is case number 22-4, 140 Washington Street, special permit. Again, we have from the applicant a request to continue this case until May 18th and extend it until June 1st. That's at the request of the applicant. Could I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Drew,
Second.
second by Bob. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay. Next thing we had on the agenda for tonight is Cedar Edge and Cedar Crossing. This is the 40B in South Walpole. We have a set of plans that the applicant has asked us to endorse as a A&R, approval not required plan, which signifies the 2 lots of the property, one lot being the homeowners' properties where they're single-family duplexes and single-family homes, and the other one of the apartment buildings, 4 large apartment buildings. So those are the 2 lots. And we have some, we had a letter from town council saying that it is appropriate for the zoning board to sign that because it was done as a 40B, and the zoning board sits in place of all the other town boards in a comprehensive permit for a 40B. So, that being said, we have some questions, board members have raised some questions on this. So, who wants to go first? Bob or Judy?
Well, just,
I'll let Bob go first. Go ahead, Bob.
no, yeah, I just raised the question about the board sitting for the planning board in this context. I was thinking of it as analogous to the Wetlands Protection Act circumstance where one of the orders of conditions is issued pursuant to the state statute and regulations. And the zoning board does not sit for the commission for purposes of that approval. But because there is a local wetlands bylaw, we would sit as the commission with respect to the implementation of the local bylaw. And here there's something that to me is a little more analogous to the Wetlands Protection Act aspect where there's a state statute that specifically authorizes the planning board to endorse A&R plans. And there are local rules and regulations governing subdivision and the like, but as far as I'm aware, there's not a local bylaw regarding subdivision. So I was just questioning whether it was appropriate for the board to be endorsing the plan. And I see that the town council has opined that it's acceptable because we've done a comprehensive permit for this project. So I don't know the correct answer. It just struck me as a little, it was unexpected, I guess, the way that we were proceeding, but, yeah.
And I'll also note, I've never seen it done that we've had a 40B where we did an A&R, and I haven't seen that in any of my experiences. Town council did reference one that's in Falmouth that was, again, an unusual case.
Yep.
And that's why town council thought we should and were within our rights to sign it, so.
Okay.
But
I-
your
yeah.
concerns are noted, and we don't have to sign, we do not have to sign it tonight if we want to get further clarification.
Yeah, the other sort of procedural thing was, when you take the plan to be recorded, oftentimes the recording folks will look at it and they're expecting to see the planning board having signed it, and I don't know that they'll record the plan. I mean, that's not really our concern if we end up signing it, but anyway, I just don't want to create more headaches. It's sort of unnecessary to do it that way.
Judy?
Okay, thank you. I wasn't part of the Cedar Parks project or whatever, but I did go back and look at a few things. And correct me if I'm wrong, the hearing is closed, and your decision was made.
Yes.
Okay. So the applicant apparently is asking this board for an A&R, correct?
Yes.
No.
No, okay.
They're not asking for an A&R. When the board conducted their waivers during the comprehensive permit process, the board approved waivers to facilitate the creation of 2 lots, one being no less than 86 feet in frontage, and one being no less than, I believe, 84 feet in frontage, or no less than 83 feet in frontage. That waiver for the creation, for the frontage waiver, as well as the waiver for constructing buildings on a lot of not having frontage, and referenced in the town council's letter, that authority taken over by the zoning board throughout the comprehensive permit superseded the comprehensive process. The comprehensive permit process superseded all other regulatory boards. Similar, like as you mentioned, where the zoning board sits in for all other boards during the comprehensive permit process, dealing with local regulation. So it's a unique case. I mean, I think everyone said this is kind of why I brought this to town council, because I'm not familiar with it as well. Town council seemed pretty convinced in prior experience that she has had and has discussed with KP Law as well, that this is, in this situation, the onus is on the zoning board to endorse what is in effect an A&R plan, but the board has already approved in the creation of these lots. It's more or less endorsement. It's not a new application or anything like that. So it's an endorsement of a plan that was already effectively approved through the comprehensive permit process.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go along with that. However, something happened,
Mm-hmm.
and it did not get approved during your normal process. Correct?
No, it was approved.
It
It
was
was appealed
approved.
on a separate issue, though.
Okay, all right. So, I guess one of my questions is why now? And we have an A&R procedure that's, I believe, a Mass General Law situation where an A&R is assigned to the planning board. There's an application, there's a fee.
Mhm.
There's also a reason that it gets time-stamped at the town clerk's office to kick off a 21-day clock. This is the online stuff I don't like. Per your email, this just came in last night. Came in, it's not stamped by the town clerk, there's no time, there's no date.
No, I had to
This
make a,
didn't come in.
no,
This
it didn't
didn't
come in
come in
last night. I had to scan it in to make a digital
Scan it in.
rendering to send it to
Okay,
you.
but so when did this come in?
Friday?
I saw it was it last week?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no requirement as per Mass General Law to an A&R. It's outside the box.
For
of the-
typical A&R, absolutely. But the fact is this, through the comprehensive permit process, the board's approval for the reduced frontage for the facilitation of the creation of 2 lots, that superseded any other local process. And that's kind of the gist of what town council has kind of alluded to, is that the board's authority in the comprehensive permit process for this specific project, for the specific situation, supersedes going to the planning board where it normally would under an actual application. But this is not a new application. This is more or less going forward with what was already approved by the board in the waiver. So the applicant, the Omni Group, is beginning the process of getting their permits in line, getting information in line to do their construction management plan, all the work that goes in process before an applicant goes forward with submitting final plans for to the building department and begin the process of seeking building permits. So this is almost like housekeeping work in effect, because the board has already created the lots through the comprehensive permit process.
Also, as far as the fee, I did discuss that with Patrick about the fee. And town council and I was of the opinion that they've already paid the fee when they did the comprehensive permit. When they filed the comprehensive permit, they pay a fee for that. And this is all partly included in the comprehensive permit.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the fact that you already made the approval,
Right.
and they must have an outline of their entire property line, which has been accepted, and master deeds are created, and things have already been filed, am I correct? At the courts,
filed.
registry of deeds and things like that?
This is
As
this is
owners?
this is to actually file for the creation of those lots, but the approval's already been granted. That's why the board has to endorse it and has to be registered. And I think you mentioned, Mr. Fitzgerald, was the registry going to accept this? Well, the onus is on the applicant to do the right thing in terms of actually getting the creation of their lots. So that signature block is kind of where we go back to. Obviously, this is approval under subdivision control law. It's required as the general law, chapter 41, section 81P, which is typical of an A&R plan. The Walpole Zoning Board of Appeals, signing is pursuant to authority under general law, chapter 40B, section 20 through 23. See comprehensive permit decision recorded in the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds as, there's the book and the page number. So while typically falls under chapter 41, section 91P, this plan references comprehensive permit as kind of superseding for the creation of the lots. And again, this is new to me too. I'm not familiar with this situation, but this is my interpretation and discussion with town council and where we are with that memo.
Okay. So, do you see where it's talking about?
Yeah, I get all
40B
that.
right on that?
I get all that, but if we don't have to vote on this tonight, I think a lot of these questions need to be addressed. I would not want to see the board take any action that would be harmful in any way to the decision that you already made, to the applicant's application, and to anybody else. I think we need to be extremely transparent. I mean, if this came in last week and it just got kind of,
Again, it's not following
I
the
know-
same process as a typical A&R plan. That's how it was relayed by town council.
In fact, as you know, the planning board, many times, the A&Rs get signed at the end of the meeting. There's no hearing for
No
those.
vote.
because
I know that,
they've
correct.
already had the hearings on the subdivision control when they did the permitting.
right,
So-
but they do other single homes and combining lots and things like that that aren't part of subdivisions.
But for signing in A&Rs, it's more of it's a formality at that point because the project has already been approved, it meets the requirements,
Right.
so.
But if they do approve a subdivision and someone comes back and says, oh, I want to create this lot in that subdivision, they can't just reopen the old approved subdivision and roll that out and say, oh, yeah, this, we'll draw the crayon line around that lot. Yep, you got it.
This is not a crayon line, this is.
No, I know that. I'm just saying,
So I see what you're saying. So say they wanted to make a change within one of the lots, say if they wanted to divide that by any stretch. That goes back to the comprehensive permit process. That's a modification of the comprehensive permit process because the waiver was to create those two lots, not any additional lot. So the waiver that the board granted is pretty specific to only the creation of those two lots. So any change from that would, in effect, I think we'd have to get approval from HAC, whether that's, or not
Well,
HAC, yeah.
they'd go and ask whether it's a substantial or a minor modification.
Correct.
And that's where that would go, but this is, This is taking what's already been approved by the zoning board and putting an A and R stamp, basically A and R approval on it.
Recording the change with the Registry of Deeds, yes.
I mean, I do recall that it was always contemplated that there would be 2 lots, one for the home ownership units and one for the apartment
Oh, yeah, that was,
units. So this is not like a deviation from what was presented before. I mean, it does say A&R plan on it, that's why you know, I don't know if we need to call it something else, I don't know. I mean, I don't wanna put sort of form over substance necessarily, but I just wanna, you know, make sure everybody's, I guess we just need to have this discussion.
Yeah,
Because typically
absolutely.
an A&R plan is filed when you don't need to, what you're showing on the plan is not a subdivision, i.e. all the lots have the requisite frontage. In this case, then if they don't, then you say, no, you have to go through the definitive subdivision process. In this case, the lots don't comply with zoning, but for the comprehensive permit approval, so that's like, you know, it's.
so it really should be
it's sort of
another
one and
name
the same.
than approval not required, because approval is required.
Well, but not under the subdivision control law, like it's approval under the comprehensive permit, which I think is what this note
Title
is
block.
intended to convey, that we're not approving this pursuant to the subdivision control law, we're approving it
Pursuant to
by
the
saying
comprehensive
that we're
permit.
endorsing the fact that this is consistent with our comprehensive permit decision. And whether that's enough to get recorded at the registry, I don't know, but that's not our.
In
problem.
the, you know, I mean, this is, you know, obviously for the board to discuss, and I think that's an
Yep.
important thing. Just as an aside, I mean, the onus is on Omni Group to record their plan properly and
Right.
correctly. And I think that's why it's referenced in the signature block of how, you know, it's an approval plan under subdivision control law, 41, chapter 41, section 81P, but then obviously the zoning board of appeals, it's more pursuant to the comprehensive permit, which is recorded with the registry of deeds. And
Yeah.
so that's why they reference that in the signature block, as going back, and
Yeah,
as
I
the
mean,
comprehensive permit is superseding.
If they took the plan to the registry and the registry said, we can't record this, it's not approved by the right body, then they would have to come back and deal with that. But
Correct.
that's not,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
That's on
And,
them.
and, you know, and the waiver for the creation, so the top lot is the rental lot, and so that waiver is basically for a property no less than 86 feet in
Yeah.
frontage. The bottom property is for the ownership portion of the development, and that's for no less than 83 feet. Oh, 133 feet, 133 feet in frontage.
Yeah.
So I mean, just looking back at the waivers that the board granted, that's kind of where that,
And that's
Creation.
consistent with this plan.
Correct.
Yeah. Right.
Other points, Judy?
So this is the plan that you approved. It's on 2 sheets, I don't know why, but.
it's a large property.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nestling this together, this A and R situation was always there,
Yes.
okay? So then, I guess my question is, why is it just not absorbed? Why do they need this? And also, what's the rush?
Well, there's no rush. I mean, they brought it forward to
Right.
us. I mean, there's no rush in the sense that we're
I
rushing
told you we
it.
don't have to sign it
No,
tonight.
no,
No
okay.
rush.
So what was the first question? Why wasn't it just not absorbed and created?
Well, yeah,
They
why
need
isn't
to-
it just absorbed into like
don't know if
the
we
master
saw this in the
decision that
hearing.
was made by this board?
So the comprehensive permit certainly was recorded, and that's why they referenced it in the page, in the book and page number.
Okay.
But the actual physical boundaries of the lots that they're creating, that's why this process is needed, or why the endorsement is needed. So they need a physical plan to show the creation, you know, that is, you know, has the correct, appropriate meets and bounds, as well as, you know, dimensions in order to record
I don't recall
the
this
physical
specific-
the property change. The reference that they have is just the comprehensive permit. That's all, that's just wording. Obviously, they need to show where the boundaries are that are being recorded, so that it rides with the property.
Patrick,
Yeah.
on the, we spent a lot of time on this project, and originally there were 2 parcels of property that were combined to make this whole project.
Yes.
There were stone walls that were running through here. I don't recall in the public hearing actually seeing this division line, was this part of their plan?
The division line that they're proposing for the two,
The
lot
two
one, lot
lots?
two?
Did they-
Um,
We had many sheets.
Yeah, I'd have to go grab the sheet, John, and see if that was the exact separation that they're proposing. I know the frontage amounts are, that was recorded in the waivers.
Right, that was their, that was their request.
Yep.
But I guess I'm just asking, in that whole stack of, 30 or more sheets, was there ever, and I don't know, do you have the plans upstairs?
Yeah, I'd have to go get them.
Well, I think,
Is that worth?
my only thought there is that even if it isn't shown on those plans, the waivers were allowing them to create two
Two
lots,
lots.
one with this frontage, one with that frontage, and so they were free to draw that. However, it doesn't change the site plan, it doesn't change the improvements, it's a way for them to divide the two projects so they can probably finance them separately. And so they need to separate the two lots so that they are independent of one another.
Yeah, if you remember, Cedar Edge is, I believe, the home ownership version. Cedar Crossing is technically the rental portion, so that's.
Any other questions or comments?
And on the signature block, and I'm not sure of the language, but is that what would be on an A and R? Isn't there another?
Not the bottom portion. So the bottom portion, the top portion, correct, but obviously where it goes into the whole zoning board of appeals, signing is pursuant to comprehensive.
Yep.
That language is unique to this situation. That where it references the comprehensive permit. Is that what you're talking with?
Yes, because on an A and R, it doesn't
wouldn't
have
say
that
that
language, but
language.
I think to cover all bases, don't you think we need to put the language that's on the A and R?
Well, that's that top portion, approval of subdivision control law not required per general law, chapter 41, section 81P.
800.
They cover that in the first portion, but obviously this is unique where it's not, according to town council, not falling to the planning board, it's falling to the zoning board as a result of the comprehensive permit, which is
Right,
superseding.
but isn't there, I can't remember the exact language, but isn't there language that says that you're endorsing something that isn't representing actual zoning
Oh,
boundaries?
yeah, there is a, I talked to Ms. Delaney about that. I think the board has like a stamp that references that they do not guarantee that the
Is a
project
buildable lot or
is
something
or
like
complies
that?
with the zoning in
Right.
place, which in this case, it certainly doesn't, because that's why the
Well,
frontage
if
doesn't fit.
we're gonna sign it, I think we should have everything on there that's supposed to be there, whether it's unique to this
I believe
thing
that's a
or,
stamp that
well, we can
I know Ms. Delaney has
put
that,
the language,
yeah.
make the engineer do it and
That's what-
put it in. I mean, if you're gonna sign it at some point in time,
Yeah,
if you
It-
think you need to, I'd like to see that there just to protect the board.
yeah.
If you're gonna act, if they're,
I mean,
if
it's
the
a
board's
separate,
gonna
it's a
act like the
separate
planning
stamp that
board,
I'm
they should.
aware of. I don't think it's an actual imprinted on.
Right, but if the board's gonna act as the planning board, they should follow the language that would be on an A and R form, not just this unique one.
And that says, this does not,
It has to do with this, like, representation, doesn't
Does not
represent
represent
that
that it
it's
conforms to the
buildable
town
and
zoning, yeah.
a buildable lot, conforms to frontages and things like that. I think it's a stock thing they pop
It's a
on there.
stock stamp that is upstairs.
okay, well, I think that, I mean, clearly this does not conform to town zoning.
Of course.
But for the comprehensive permit.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
So
comprehensive.
Right.
it does in that sense. Yeah, it's not, I mean, in my experience, typically you file your A and R plan first, and if the lot doesn't comply with zoning, then you indicate that it doesn't, and say, this is not a buildable lot, because it doesn't meet front. And then if you wanna build on that lot, then you go to the zoning board, so you can get a variance to build on the lot. In this situation, because it was a comprehensive permit, the zoning board process came first, and this has come second. So, like I said, I don't wanna put form over substance. I'm happy to add language on here, but I think at the end of the day, I don't have a problem signing it, as long as we're comfortable with the language that indicates whatever we want it to say, in terms of,
Well, I think we can add that stamp from the zoning board, from the planning board, and just have the plan stamped, so it says
It's accurate. I mean, it doesn't
Well-
conform to our zone, so, yeah.
Yeah, whatever they would normally stamp it with, because this little block that says, you know, approval under the subdivision control law, not required per, you know, the general laws, then goes on, talks about the 40B permit, so I think we're covered on that.
Yeah.
I think this is what covers it. If we want to add whatever the planning board has for a stamp, I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah, there's no harm to it.
I don't think there's any harm, and I think it's actually, it benefits to make sure that it's consistent. Anything else? Okay. Do you have any other questions or
No,
comments? Okay. Okay. And as far as signing it, it'll be the 5 regular members that will sign it.
Correct.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be signed in the public session.
right. We have to endorse the Mylar copy.
Typically, when you approve it, it does need to be, in this situation, it's unique in the fact that it's already been approved, and this is merely an endorsement. At the very least, if the majority of the current board wishes to sign it, as in the 3 of you, that's a majority. I would imagine that is,
Why, did town council say that it has to be done in a public session?
no, it just says a board business item.
No, I think we can sign it anytime within the 20-day period before, otherwise it's automatically approved if we were following the normal,
Yeah.
course. So I don't think I just logistically, like, just to
yeah.
get everybody in to sign it, we could sign it.
Such as like when a decision is written. Yeah, you don't, if the decision's written, sometimes we don't have the board, sign it in person. You sign it after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
But we,
The
in this
decision's
case, we have
been
to-
made,
we have
but
to
then the
physically sign the Mylar, like, we can't just say, go ahead and sign the form.
Oh, you
know,
need to
like,
physically
has to be
sign it.
physically signed.
Yes.
Drew, any questions, comments?
Is there any sort of time frame? I understand the 20 days, but I know we have the safe harbor right now because of this project, and is that at all playing to
It's not
affect-
connected to it.
Okay.
If it was a building permit, it'd be a whole different thing. This
Okay.
is more or less kind of, like I said, I think this is more or less housekeeping, and the fact that the board, according to town council, has already effectively approved this. This is just for recording purposes.
And just to follow up on that point, like, there's definitely case law that says, like, when the planning board's reviewing a A&R plan, the only question before them is, does the plan show a subdivision or not? You can't, it's totally independent of what they might do with the land or anything like that. All you're supposed to do is look at the lots and say whether they, whether the plan itself shows a subdivision or not. That's the only question that you can resolve. So, like, questions of safe harbor or aspects of the project are sort of, in my view, they're sort of not relevant to this particular endorsement.
I guess, yeah, my thought is kind of back to what Judy was saying was, why now? Is there some sort of reason to delay any sort of process? And, I mean, I guess they're not here to represent themselves and asking the house
Yeah.
keep this, but I guess it would have been nice to have it presented during the case if they had known at that point that, this was coming up, but,
Yeah, I mean, I think that ideally that would have made sense, and probably would have been a lot better to have them to kind of explain that through that process. In town council's letter, though, that waiver in effect granted for the creation of the two lots, and so, in terms of where this fits into their timeline, it's really it's up to them. I think there's, from my brief conversation, I think they're just trying to get going with executing their comprehensive permit. And so one of the steps that they need to do is record the actual creation of the lots that they were approved for. In terms of filing for a building permit or a construction management plan, I don't have a time frame on that from them. They indicated they're working on it, basically, so.
that's all I have.
Are you comfortable with this, or what's your thought?
I guess I don't really, I definitely, other board members, non-voter competence kinda concerns me, but, I think if we can properly protect ourselves by adding whatever wordage makes everyone in the same consensus to do it, then I would feel better about it, but,
You saw the letter from town council that says that we can and we
Right.
can and we should sign it.
right, and I think, I mean, as the case has shown, that we were the acting board of other boards, and that makes sense to me, but certainly, I can see where there's a little bit of questioning to be had, I guess, but I wouldn't have a problem signing, I guess, the town council's letter.
Judy?
I don't know if anyone like read this Falmouth Hospitality LLC decision that she actually presented. But on page 46, because it was a really long thing, it kind of outlined why their board in Falmouth was not required to sign because it was outside the permitting, outside the closed hearing, outside the decision, and they were not asked to sign that A&R plan. Because it should have been incorporated into, as I said earlier, the master plan, the master deed, whatever you want to call it, it should already be considered one. So I'm still not clear. I obviously wasn't a voting person, so I'm not, but I'm just expressing my concern that that case said the board therefore may not condition the development on separately obtaining such an endorsement as this A&R. This condition is beyond the board's authority because it must address all matters before it in the single comprehensive permit. That's pretty clear. The town council sent it, and I said to Patrick, town council, not a fan from years before in my prior life in town government, but they're not the ones that sit and make the decision. They're not taking the vote. They're not the ones that have to answer to the townspeople when we say, well, what's that all about? So, okay, town council, thank you for your opinion, but I think we have to really be sure on this one that it's, you either have to do it, or you're asked to do it, or you don't need to do it. And I think we don't need to do it because it should be there. Somebody missed the boat, threw a couple of balls in the air and forgot to catch one is what I think happened. And why is it up to us to clean up the mess? It's there.
So,
You granted the waiver inside the comprehensive permit.
Yes.
You saw this map. If in fact it's the same map that you all looked at. I don't know. I didn't see the many
We just-
pages of maps.
We just looked at.
You just said it
pulled
is.
up, And it's the line, it didn't have some of the dimensions on it, but it is the line. But now I'm actually coming around a little bit towards your side as far as, if we, we've already had the hearing. It's closed. And
Excuse me, you already had a remand, which caused some stress to the residents of South Walpole. So this just seems to me to just put a little more lipstick on the pig. I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable. If I was going to be a voting member, I would be voting no. And I'm not sure about supermajorities on A&Rs. If you're going to call it an A&R, you got to follow the A&R rules. And someone can explain to me supermajority, I believe, is 5, and you need 4. Whatever it is, explain.
You need a supermajority for an A&R.
Well, I just want to make sure, as you said, the regular members will be voting. So there's only 3 of you here.
Is it supermajority for A&R?
No.
It's majority. Right?
Yes.
Majority? Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that, everybody's crossing the Ts,
And-
but
And the other members can sign it at, at any other point, so.
Typically, if it's an A&R coming before the board for an actual A&R application, you would sign it in session or at the end of the session. I think what town council is referenced is the board has already approved this project through the comprehensive permit and is superseding. So this endorsement is more or less is tying up loose ends, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think I read this excerpt from the case as saying that we could not have issued a comprehensive permit that says, and now you have to go to the planning board to get an A&R endorsement on your plan. We
Right.
could not do that. So we can't really, if this is consistent with what they showed us, and all they're doing is drawing a property line, they're not changing their project, there's, whatever rationale they have for doing this is not really relevant. It's just like, they're just drawing a line, they need to get it recorded, and so they need somebody to endorse it. And because we granted the waivers to allow the lots to have less than the required frontage, town council saying we're the ones who should endorse it, because to make, which is sort of protective of the board in the sense that we get to look at it and say, is this consistent with
What
the
was
waivers
presented.
that we granted? And if it is, then we should probably endorse it. If it were totally a new, arrangement or something, then, we might have questions about that, but, anyway, I think it, based on what you were looking at there, Drew, it looks to me like the line is consistent with what was represented during the hearing in the plans that they showed, and it's consistent with the waivers, so, yeah. So, again, I'm happy to incorporate additional language in the signature block to make whatever people want it to say, but I feel more comfortable after this discussion actually signing it than less.
Okay, so, at this point, we don't take, there's no vote to be taken.
No, I mean, technically,
just-
the board has already approved the plan. I mean, that's
So,
more or less
so
endorsement.
it's, we've approved this plan, and this is part of the comprehensive permit. And the one thing I would like to do is make sure that it's stamped with the
Yes.
stamp that the planning board uses. And does it say planning board on the stamp, you know?
Yeah, so that's, and cross that out honestly, and we could write zoning board if that,
Okay.
so, yeah.
But it's, I think that should be added, whatever wording they use, it should be added.
Maybe another suggestion would be to have the applicant include whatever language, on here, and then maybe not call it an A&R plan, just call it a plan of land, or something of that nature, so that because I think that is gonna be confusing.
So in that case, yeah, I mean, if you'd rather go that route, we could put that back onto the applicant to make that change, include that language
Yeah.
printed,
Yeah.
as
Yep.
opposed to us adding it.
Why don't we do that?
That, right,
Would that
because
be-
it sounded like the stamp that you're talking about will say planning board endorses, and then
Yeah,
we're gonna sign
because
it, we're not the planning board, so it's
Typically,
just
this does not come before the zoning board.
more confusion, so I think whatever we can do to be as clear as possible that,
Okay.
that this is being approved pursuant to the comprehensive permit and not as an A&R plan, I think would be good.
So let's do this. Let's send it back to the applicant, see if they can remove it. A&R,
And just call it a plan of
a
land.
plan of land. So remove A&R, and also whatever the wording is on the planning board stamp,
Yep.
have that put into this plan without reference to the planning board. And then, does that make you feel better?
Yeah.
Judy, what's your thoughts?
What does the decision say? Does it reference an A&R?
No,
No.
It doesn't, nowhere.
no.
Okay.
I actually like that. I think it gets us away from the whole confusion of an A&R and who approves A&Rs. And the only thing is where they're even saying, they're saying approval, well, they are saying that approval is not required under the subdivision control, so.
Right.
That can
makes
stay, but,
confusion.
I think things such as, this is, we're not saying this is a buildable, it's,
Yeah.
I guess it is a buildable lot with our permit attached.
Yeah, I mean, when they go for a building permit, they'll have the lot plan, and they'll have the comprehensive permit, and the building inspector should check to make sure that, the waiver is being observed,
Yeah.
and it is on this plan, so it shouldn't be, it's not like they're gonna get denied a building permit because they don't comply with zoning, because they have a comprehensive permit.
you understand what they need to do?
Yeah, so removing the A&R plan language, adding plan of land, and then including the verbiage from the typical planning board stamp in regards to not complying with local zoning bylaws and
Mhm.
And I think that would clarify things and make it better. Okay, so.
So do we
that
have
can-
sufficient time to, in, next meeting to?
Yeah, we should, because
You know,
this actually, this is dated, yes, the 19th. So we just got this on the 19th?
Looks like it was stamped on the 19th.
oh, yeah, the frontage on the 15th.
It's weird that it's not signed, anyway.
The surveyor looks like he signed it
Signed
on
it.
4/19.
4/19.
419.
So,
Yeah.
so, I thought I saw a plan last week.
There's
Is
a
this-
date of April 4th on the bottom right-hand corner under A&R Plan 1 of 2.
But it's clearly.
Yeah, it clearly says,
4/19.
well, I can clear that up with them.
Okay, the date, I don't care what the dates say,
Yeah.
but at our next meeting, if we get an updated plan with the
Yep.
things that we asked for, and if they want something different, they're really gonna need to come explain
Yeah.
why.
That was a little disappointing
Why?
that they just thought we're gonna throw this around amongst ourselves. I really think they should have sent someone to
Well, I think
address,
they thought
to
it was
address us.
straightforward. And,
Whether, yeah, but you're talking a project like that, they couldn't send somebody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can bring that up to them as well, and maybe if we delay that, have the corrections that the board wanted, just have that as a board business item and have someone representative of the project here to answer any additional questions.
if we need, do we need people to, do we want someone to come in and explain why they need an A&R? Or what,
No, I mean, it's.
I understand why they need the
Should have been
plans.
here tonight.
Right. Well, no, they just, I mean, we have these comments on their plan, they're either gonna respond to it or not, and then if they don't, then we have to decide whether we wanna sign it anyway,
Right.
or, but it would be, I think the changes we're asking for merely to address confusion,
Yeah.
that arises from having it labeled an A&R plan when it's not, we're not really approving it through the A&R process.
Yeah, and that's right, what I'm trying to emphasize, it's not a new application, this is more or less an endorsement. What's before you, if you feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable with endorsing,
Yeah.
you can ask to have those changes corrected.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll table this and
I
get.
mean, I guess it's arguable that the
Modification.
20-day clock doesn't apply since it's not a formal A&R submission, but anyway, I wanted to make sure that we're not gonna run out of time before our next meeting to endorse it, if that makes
No,
sense.
we should be back in 2 weeks.
So 14 days
Te-
plus,
and-
Well, it didn't get clocked in.
Technically, yeah, technically it wasn't
Officially
clocked
to our
in.
town clerk, so
Right.
unless they wanna come and make the changes and start. the
And,
Actually
and
apply
it's
it.
dated, and it's
Yeah.
dated the 19th, so we should, we're
There's some
fine.
issues there.
Okay. Okay, so, we have some minutes for tonight's meeting. Okay. Minutes for March 16th. These were held back. There were some questions
Yeah.
on these.
I did go back and listen to the hearing video, and I'm comfortable with the way my comments were reflected, so I don't
Okay.
think there needs to be any change. At least with respect to my comments.
Yep.
Others may have comments.
Anybody have any questions or comments on the minutes of the 16th? Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 16th?
So move.
Moved by Drew,
Second?
by Bob. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. I haven't reviewed the April 6th. Did you guys get a chance?
I haven't read those yet.
Okay. Did you review the 6th?
I looked at them, but I can wait.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so we'll hold on the April 6 ones. Anything else for the board? So the two cases tonight were continued, and thank you, everybody, for coming. Motion to adjourn.
So
Moved by Drew.
Second?
Bob, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Good night, everybody.